I'm not sure where to start, but I guess I'll just dive in. My name is Greg, and I'm here to share a pretty wild story about my wife, Lisa, and the whirlwind of emotions that followed the most painful discovery of my life. We had been married for 5 years, and honestly, I thought we were doing great. At least, I did until everything came crashing down. You know that feeling when you start sensing something is off? At first, it was just little things. Lisa had this habit of staying late at work, and while I trusted her, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing beneath the surface. She became distant, less playful. The conversations we used to have turned into short exchanges about grocery lists and weekend plans. I chalked it up to stress. Her job as an assistant professor at the local university was demanding, and I understood that. But deep down, the nagging feeling wouldn't leave me alone. Then there were the texts. I noticed she was texting a lot more, her phone glued to her side. If I walked into the room, she'd quickly switch screens or turn the phone face down. When I asked about it, she'd shoot me this condescending look and say, "Oh, it's just work stuff. You know how students are." I wanted to believe her, but I could feel the trust slipping away. One night I decided to surprise her by cooking dinner and lighting some candles. I thought maybe reigniting some romance would help. But she came home late, again. This time she was colder than usual, brushing off my attempts at conversation. I could feel the air thick with tension. It was that night I made a decision. I would start putting the pieces together. Over the next few weeks, I turned into a detective. I started tracking her movements, noticing patterns that made me uneasy. The late nights turned into weekends spent working at the university. I even took an unannounced trip to her office one Saturday, only to find it empty. The whole building was deserted. That was the moment my heart dropped. Something was off, and I was determined to find out what. Then, everything changed one evening. I was scrolling through Facebook, and a post caught my eye. It was a photo of Lisa, cozy and laughing with my old professor, Dr. Miller. They were at a restaurant, leaning in close, a little too close for comfort. My stomach twisted as I saw the caption, "Best study buddy ever, professor life." I felt the blood drain from my face. The realization hit me like a freight train. I clicked on the comments, and there were students chiming in, complimenting how adorable they looked together. My heart raced, and I couldn't process what I was seeing. I knew I had to confront her. That night I waited for Lisa to come home, anxious energy coursing through me like a live wire. When she walked in, I could see the guilt plastered across her face even before I said a word. It was like she knew what I had found. I took a deep breath and said, "We need to talk." She rolled her eyes, a characteristic trait of hers when she felt cornered, but I pressed on, showing her the photo. Her face paled, and for the first time I saw fear in her eyes. "What is this, Lisa?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. She stammered, "It's not what you think. I was just helping him with a project." I scoffed. "Helping with a project? At a restaurant with your arm around him? Come on, Lisa." Her excuses fell flat. She tried to spin a story about how it was innocent, how Dr. Miller was just mentoring her. But I wasn't having any of it. I felt rage boiling inside me as she continued to lie, her voice rising with each denial. It was unbearable. Finally, she broke down. "Okay, fine, we kissed. But it was just one time, and it didn't mean anything." Those words cut deeper than any knife. I felt my world crumbling as anger morphed into heartbreak. I stood there, stunned, unsure of what to say next. That moment marked the beginning of my emotional roller coaster. I knew I had to figure out how to deal with this betrayal, and I could feel the gears in my mind beginning to turn. Part of me wanted to fight for our marriage, but another part of me wanted revenge. How could she do this to me? How could she betray the love we built together? The questions spun around in my head, each one more painful than the last. And as I contemplated my next move, I realized I wasn't just battling for my heart. I was fighting for justice. Little did I know that the wheels of my revenge were already in motion, and nothing would be the same after that night. After that explosive confrontation, my initial shock morphed into a burning desire for revenge. I was crushed, but there was an ember of determination igniting within me. I wasn't going to let Lisa's betrayal slip away without consequences. I needed a plan, something that would expose not just her infidelity, but also the man who had crossed a line that should never have been crossed. Dr. Miller, the so-called mentor, was about to be thrust into the spotlight. In the days that followed, I transformed into a man on a mission. I started digging through Lisa's belongings, looking for anything that might serve as evidence of her affair with Dr. Miller. I rifled through her emails and text messages, scouring for anything that could confirm my suspicions. I found a few texts that made my stomach turn. They were flirty, filled with inside jokes and innuendos that left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. As I read through them, a mix of anger and clarity washed over me. I wasn't just dealing with a cheating wife. I was faced with a situation that affected many students, and it was time to shine a light on it. I remembered how Dr. Miller always had a reputation for being a bit too friendly with the female students. Rumors circulated around campus about inappropriate relationships, and I had overheard whispers about him during my time at the university. It wasn't just Lisa. He had a history of taking advantage of his position. I realized that if I exposed him, I could potentially protect other students from falling into the same traps Lisa had. My first step was to gather evidence. I needed more than just texts. I needed proof that would be hard to dismiss. I started talking to some of Lisa's friends, trying to find out if they had any insights into her recent behavior. It wasn't long before I connected with a girl named Sarah, one of Lisa's closest friends. I approached her casually at a coffee shop, careful not to raise any suspicions. "Hey, Sarah, how's school going?" I asked, feigning normalcy. She looked up from her coffee, a bit surprised. "Oh, hey, Greg, it's been busy, you know how it is. Lisa is, well, she's been a little off lately." I couldn't hide my smirk. "Really? What do you mean by that?" Sarah leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I heard some things. There are rumors about Dr. Miller being a little too close to some of his students. I think he's been spending time with Lisa outside of class. It's not just me. A few of us have noticed." I couldn't believe my luck. This was exactly the kind of information I needed to substantiate my claims. We chatted for a while, and she provided me with more tidbits about other students who had also felt uncomfortable around Dr. Miller. Each revelation made my resolve stronger. Now, armed with potential witnesses and a wealth of information about Dr. Miller's questionable behavior, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I meticulously documented everything. I saved Lisa's texts, collected testimonials from students, and even noted down the gossip I had overheard in my conversations. I was building a case, and I was determined to ensure both Lisa and Dr. Miller faced the consequences of their actions. As the days went by, I set my plan into motion. I contacted the student council at the university, carefully crafting an anonymous tip outlining Dr. Miller's inappropriate relationships with students, backed by the evidence I had gathered. I made sure to include Lisa's name, not out of spite, but to establish a pattern of behavior that couldn't be ignored. I wanted to make it clear that this was not a one-off incident. It was systemic, and I was going to be the one to expose it. The night before I submitted my report, I sat in our living room staring at the wall. I could hear Lisa in the bedroom, blissfully unaware of the storm I was about to unleash. The thought made my heart race. I felt a mix of excitement, anger, and a twinge of guilt. Was I doing the right thing? Would this really bring justice, or was I just seeking revenge out of hurt? In some ways, this was about reclaiming my power. Lisa had stripped me of my agency with her betrayal, and now I was taking it back. I thought about the students who might have been harmed by Dr. Miller's actions, and that thought provided me solace. I wanted to protect them, and if that meant going against my wife, then so be it. The next morning, I hit send on the email. My heart raced as I pressed the button. I felt a wave of relief wash over me as I realized I had done something. I had taken control of my situation, and there was no turning back now. The repercussions would unfold soon enough, but I was ready to face whatever came next. As I prepared for the storm that was about to unfold, I recalled all the moments I had shared with Lisa. The laughter, the intimacy, the dreams we had woven together. It was all tainted now, and the bitterness lingered. But I wasn't broken. I was determined, and I was ready to fight for my truth. Little did I know, the revelation of my findings would set off a chain reaction that would change everything in ways I couldn't yet imagine. After sending that email, I felt a strange mix of relief and apprehension. The wait began. I had to go about my daily routine, pretending everything was normal while my world was on the brink of upheaval. Lisa remained oblivious, acting like nothing had changed, though I could sense a growing tension between us. It was like living with a ghost. We shared the same space, but I felt utterly alone. A few days later, I received an email from the student council. They informed me that they had taken my claims seriously and were launching an investigation into Dr. Miller's behavior. My heart raced as I read the words, but I had to remain calm. I was still grappling with the fallout from my confrontation with Lisa. The air between us was thick with unspoken words. I could feel the storm brewing, and I knew it was only a matter of time before it would explode. That night, I decided to confront her again. I waited until after dinner when the mood was light and she was relaxed. I sat her down in the living room, trying to frame my words carefully. "Lisa, can we talk about everything that's been happening?" She looked at me, her expression shifting from casual to guarded. "What do you mean?" "About you and Dr. Miller. I want to know how deep this goes," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Her eyes widened, and for a moment I thought I saw panic flicker across her face. "Greg, I told you it was just a mistake. Nothing happened beyond that kiss." "Really? Because I've been hearing things from other students. You're not the only one he's been involved with, and I'm not the only one who knows." The words tumbled out, heavy with accusation, and I watched her face drain of color. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I know you're not the first student he's been close to. You're not the only one he's kissed, and you won't be the last if this continues," I said, feeling a surge of anger. "You're in danger, Lisa, and I don't think you realize it." She crossed her arms defensively, a dismissive scoff escaping her lips. "You're exaggerating. Dr. Miller is a great professor. Everyone loves him. You're just being paranoid." "Paranoid? That's rich coming from you," I shot back, my patience wearing thin. "You're the one who's cheating on your husband." At that moment, her phone buzzed on the coffee table, a text notification. I glanced at her, and without thinking I reached for it, curiosity overtaking me. Lisa lunged forward, but I was quicker. I unlocked the screen and saw a message from Dr. Miller. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, just us like old times." My heart sank. I looked up at her, fury boiling over. "This is what you call nothing. This is just a kiss. You're planning to meet him. How can you say this is innocent?" Lisa's expression morphed from shock to anger. "You have no right to go through my phone. You're being controlling." She shouted, but I could see the cracks in her facade. I wasn't just seeing guilt, I was witnessing panic. "Controlling? No, this is me trying to understand what's happening. You're the one who's been lying to me." I fired back, heart racing. "You think it's okay to betray me, to lie about it, and then call me paranoid when I have proof?" She slumped back against the couch, her anger shifting to desperation. "Greg, please, it's not like that." "Then how is it?" I pressed, my voice rising. "How can you justify abandoning our marriage for a man who uses his position to manipulate his students?" I could see her wavering. "I don't know, I was confused. I didn't mean for this to happen." "Confused?" I asked, my voice softening. "You've been cheating on me for weeks. You can't just brush that off as confusion. You made a choice, and now you have to deal with the consequences." "Consequences?" she repeated, her voice tinged with disbelief. "What are you talking about?" I took a deep breath, knowing I had to reveal the truth. "I reported Dr. Miller. The university is investigating him." Her eyes widened in shock, and for a moment I thought she might cry. "You what? Why would you do that?" "Because he's a predator, Lisa. He preys on students, and you're one of them," I said, feeling the weight of my words. "I wanted to protect you, even if you don't see it that way." She stared at me, and I could see the realization dawn on her. She was trapped. "You can't do this," she pleaded. "You'll ruin his career." "No, he's ruining students' lives. This isn't just about you and me anymore. This is much bigger," I said firmly. "It's about stopping him from hurting more people." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "You don't understand. I love him." Those words struck me like a punch to the gut. "Love? You love him after everything we've built together?" "I don't know, Greg. Everything is so messed up. I thought I was in control, but I guess I was." She cried, her voice breaking. It hit me like a brick wall. This was my wife, the woman I had committed my life to, and she was unraveling before my eyes. I felt anger, betrayal, and sadness swirl within me, crashing together like waves. But beneath it all was a sense of clarity. This was no longer just about us. It was about exposing the abuse of power that Dr. Miller wielded. I can't keep fighting for you if you won't fight for yourself, I said finally, my voice steady. You're going to have to make a choice now. Stand with me and help take him down, or continue down this path. The silence hung heavy in the room as I waited for her response. I knew I had crossed a line, but I also knew that sometimes the truth burns brighter than any lie. The tension in the room was palpable. Lisa's face was a mix of confusion and despair, and I could see the realization that her actions were not just affecting me. They had consequences far beyond our crumbling marriage. I waited, the silence stretching on, feeling a sense of impending doom settling over us. After what felt like an eternity, she finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. What do you want me to do, Greg? I swallowed hard, knowing that this was a pivotal moment. I want you to own your mistakes, Lisa. I want you to tell the truth about Dr. Miller. If you care about the other students, about yourself, you'll help me expose him. Her expression twisted, and I could see the inner conflict raging within her. But what if he retaliates? He has power. It's not just my career at stake, it's his too. He could ruin me. I took a deep breath, trying to quell my frustration. He's already ruining you, Lisa. By lying to me and being involved with him, you're putting yourself in a position to be hurt. This isn't just about him, it's about the students he could prey on next. What's more important, your fear of him or the safety of others? She looked down, her hands trembling. I could see the battle in her mind, the pull between fear and morality. I loved the idea of him. He's charismatic, confident, everything I thought I wanted, but I let it blind me. I see that now, she admitted, tears streaming down her cheeks. For the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope. Then help me. We can take him down together. It won't be easy, but it's the right thing to do. After a long pause, she nodded hesitantly. Okay, I'll do it, but can we keep it between us for now? I don't want everyone to know about everything that happened. It's too embarrassing. I sighed, knowing that this journey would be fraught with challenges. Okay, but we need to be careful. We have to gather evidence, and I'll need your help to do it. With that, we began to formulate a plan. Over the next few days, we huddled in our living room, poring over Lisa's texts, emails, and any other correspondence I could gather about Dr. Miller. The more we uncovered, the clearer it became that his behavior was not just inappropriate, it was predatory. We compiled a dossier of evidence, including testimonies from other students Lisa had confided in, outlining Dr. Miller's manipulation and coercion. It was exhausting, emotionally draining work, and each piece of evidence we collected felt like a weight pressing down on us. Lisa's shame and guilt were palpable, and I could see the toll it was taking on her. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her that we would get through this, but the reality of her betrayal still weighed heavily on my heart. The day of the university hearing arrived. We stood outside the office of the student council, a mix of anxiety and determination coursing through me. Lisa was pale, and I could tell she was on the verge of a panic attack. I took her hand, squeezing it gently. We've got this. Remember, we're doing this for the other students who might be hurt. She nodded, but her eyes were wide with fear. What if we fail? What if they believe him over us? Then we keep fighting until our voices are heard. We won't back down, I assured her, trying to instill some confidence. When we were called in, the atmosphere was tense. A panel of faculty members sat across from us, their expressions serious and scrutinizing. I could feel the weight of their gaze on us as we took our seats. The chairperson cleared his throat and welcomed us, outlining the purpose of the meeting. Lisa started to speak, her voice shaky but resolute. I'm here to tell the truth about Dr. Miller and the inappropriate relationship I had with him. It started as a mentorship, but it quickly became something else. I got caught up in his charm, and I regret it deeply. As she spoke, I could see the release of pent-up shame and guilt in her words. She recounted the details of their relationship, the flirty texts, the late-night meetings, the kiss she had once downplayed. I remained silent, letting her take the lead, knowing how essential it was for her to own her part in this. The panel listened intently, and I could see some members taking notes. When Lisa finished, I felt a surge of pride for her bravery. She was confronting her actions head-on, and despite everything, I believed she was starting to reclaim her sense of self. Then it was my turn. I laid out the evidence we had gathered, detailing the patterns of behavior that suggested Dr. Miller had manipulated not just Lisa, but potentially other female students. I presented the testimonies from Lisa's friends, who backed her claims, and I could see the panel exchanging glances. After what felt like an eternity of questions and discussions, the hearing concluded. The panel thanked us for our honesty and assured us that they would investigate the claims thoroughly. As we stepped out of the office, a wave of relief washed over me, but I knew this was just the beginning. We had taken a stand, but the battle was far from over. "Do you think they'll believe us?" Lisa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know, but we did what we had to do." "We took a chance," I replied, hoping my words would provide some comfort. We left the building, stepping into the crisp air outside. As we walked to the car, I could feel the weight of the world lifting slightly off my shoulders. We had faced the storm together, and while the fallout was yet to come, I felt a sense of solidarity with Lisa. Perhaps this painful journey would bring us closer together, allowing us to rebuild what had been broken. As we drove home, I glanced at her, and for the first time in weeks, I saw a flicker of hope in her eyes. We both knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but we were finally facing it as partners, united in our fight for justice. It was a small step, but it was a step nonetheless, and it marked the beginning of a new chapter in our tumultuous story. The days following the hearing were a whirlwind of emotions. Lisa and I navigated the aftermath together, but the air was thick with uncertainty. We had taken our stand, but now we waited for the fallout. I couldn't help but feel a mix of hope and dread as rumors began to swirl around campus about Dr. Miller's alleged misconduct. As we went about our daily lives, I noticed subtle changes in Lisa. She was more withdrawn, her anxiety palpable. The weight of her guilt still hung over her, and though she had taken the courageous step to speak out, the reality of what we had done began to sink in. I wanted to support her, to help her see that she was doing the right thing, but the shadows of her betrayal loomed over us like a dark cloud. One afternoon, as we sat on the couch together, I turned to her. "How are you holding up?" I asked, genuinely concerned. She sighed, running her fingers through her hair. "I don't know, Greg. I thought speaking out would make me feel better, but it hasn't. I just feel this overwhelming guilt for everything that's happened." I nodded, understanding the struggle. "You have to remember that you did this for the right reasons. You're protecting other students from going through what you experienced." "I know, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm to blame for everything. I let it happen. I was the one who got involved with him," she said, her voice cracking. "Lisa, we all make mistakes. But you're not to blame for Dr. Miller's actions. You spoke up when it mattered, and that takes courage," I reassured her. "You're not alone in this." She leaned into me, and I wrapped my arms around her, hoping to provide some comfort. Yet I felt a sense of unease creeping in. I still had unresolved feelings about her infidelity, and the tension between us felt like a tightrope. As the days passed, rumors began to swirl more fiercely. Dr. Miller was placed on administrative leave while the investigation took place, and the university community was abuzz with speculation. I overheard students discussing the situation in the dining hall, and it became clear that the inquiry was not just about him, but also about the environment he fostered at the university. One evening, as we prepared dinner together, Lisa received a phone call. It was Sarah, her friend. Lisa's face paled as she listened, and I felt a knot form in my stomach. After the call ended, she turned to me, her eyes wide with fear. "They're saying that Dr. Miller is denying everything," she said, her voice trembling. "He claims that I'm lying and that this is all a fabrication." My heart sank. "What? How can he do that?" "We have evidence." "I know, but he has a lot of influence. He's telling people that I'm just trying to ruin his reputation because of a bad grade or something. I'm scared, Greg. What if no one believes us?" I could see the panic rising in her. "Listen, we have to stay strong. We've done the right thing, and we can't let him intimidate us. If he's lying, we'll just have to find a way to counter it." The next few weeks were a blur of emotions as we tried to navigate the chaos. Lisa was summoned for additional interviews with the university's investigation team, and each time she returned home, she looked more drained than the last. It was clear that the scrutiny was taking its toll on her. I felt helpless, wanting to support her but also grappling with my own feelings of betrayal and anger. One evening, things came to a head. I was cleaning up after dinner when Lisa burst into the kitchen, tears streaming down her face. "I can't do this anymore," she cried. "I can't keep being dragged through this. It was supposed to be about justice, but it's just a nightmare." I turned to her, my heart aching at the sight of her distress. "I know it's hard, but you're doing this for a reason. You're not just fighting for yourself, you're fighting for others who may not have the courage to speak out," I said softly. "But what if it's all for nothing?" she sobbed. "What if it ruins my life and doesn't change anything?" I took a deep breath, knowing I had to be strong for both of us. "We can't think like that. We have to believe that our voices matter. You're not alone in this, I'm right here with you. Together we can make a difference." She looked up at me, her eyes searching mine for reassurance. "Do you really believe that?" "I do," I said firmly. "We've already taken the first step and we can't back down now. We have to keep pushing forward no matter how hard it gets." With that, we held each other tightly, feeling the weight of everything we had endured together. I knew we were both scarred from this experience, but perhaps it could also be the catalyst for healing. As the investigation continued, we learned that more students had come forward with their own stories of Dr. Miller's inappropriate behavior. It felt like a turning point in our fight. Lisa's courage inspired others, and the narrative began to shift in our favor. Then came the day when the university announced its findings. We were sitting in our living room, nervously awaiting the announcement. When the news finally broke, I could hardly believe my ears. Dr. Miller was found guilty of misconduct and was terminated from his position immediately. A mixture of relief and disbelief washed over us. Lisa broke down in tears, but this time they were tears of joy and liberation. "We did it, Greg, we really did it," she exclaimed, collapsing into my arms. As I held her, I realized that we had weathered the storm together. This experience had been traumatic and painful, but it had also brought us closer in unexpected ways. We had faced the truth, confronted our fears, and emerged on the other side stronger than before. In the weeks that followed, we began to rebuild. It wasn't easy, and there were still scars from the betrayal, but we were moving forward together, hand in hand. As we worked through the implications of the ordeal, we learned to communicate better, to confront our fears openly, and to support one another in ways we hadn't before. I reflected on how much I had learned through this tumultuous journey. Trust is fragile, but it can be rebuilt with honesty and vulnerability. I also understood that standing up for what's right often comes with a price, but the rewards of courage, community, and integrity are worth it. As we embarked on this new chapter of our lives, I made a silent promise to myself. I would never take our love for granted again, and I would always fight for what's right, no matter the cost. As the dust began to settle after Dr. Miller's departure from the university, Lisa and I found ourselves in a strange yet hopeful place. The campus atmosphere slowly shifted. Students began to talk openly about the importance of boundaries and respect in academic relationships. It felt like our fight had sparked a movement, and that realization filled me with pride. But while the external environment was changing, we still had our internal battles to face. The shadows of betrayal lingered, and while we were navigating the aftermath together, I knew we needed to address our own relationship if we were to truly heal. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, I turned to Lisa. "You know, we've been through a lot together these past few months. I think it's time we have a real conversation about us." She looked at me, her expression serious. "Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. I can't pretend everything is fine when it's not." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything we had endured. "I want to start by saying I'm proud of you. You found the courage to stand up against Dr. Miller, and that took immense strength. But I also need to talk about how your actions impacted me." Lisa nodded, her eyes reflecting understanding. "I know I hurt you, Greg. I made terrible choices, and I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I just want you to know that I'm committed to making this right." I appreciate that, I said. But it's not just about forgiveness. It's about rebuilding trust. I need to know that you're fully committed to us and that you understand the depth of what you've done. I do understand, she replied, her voice earnest. I lost sight of what truly mattered, and I've realized that I don't want to lose you. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to prove that to you. The sincerity in her voice struck a chord within me. I could see her vulnerability, the pain she felt from her choices, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of hope. You have to understand that this isn't going to be easy. There will be days when I feel the sting of betrayal, and I'll need your patience. I'm ready for that, she said, her eyes locking onto mine. I want to rebuild what we had and create something even stronger. I want to be the partner you deserve. As we talked, I felt walls begin to crumble, both hers and mine. It was the first time we had truly connected since the confrontation. We discussed our fears, our dreams, and most importantly, the steps we needed to take to rebuild our relationship. I wanted to ensure that we were both committed to open communication and that we were willing to confront any lingering issues together. In the weeks that followed, we took baby steps toward healing. We went on date nights, revisiting the places that had once held happy memories. We began to explore new activities together, trying to reconnect with each other on a deeper level. I even suggested we start seeing a couples therapist, and to my surprise, Lisa agreed without hesitation. It was a sign that she was willing to work on herself, and that gave me hope. As we navigated through our sessions, we learned to articulate our feelings and needs more clearly. I was surprised at how cathartic it was to express my emotions openly, and Lisa started to understand the depth of my hurt. It wasn't just about the act of cheating. It was about the betrayal of trust, the feeling of being blindsided by the person I loved most. Through therapy, we began to establish new boundaries, both in our relationship and in how we approach the outside world. Lisa committed to prioritizing our marriage and refraining from relationships that could compromise our trust. In return, I worked on being more open and vulnerable with her, allowing her to see my insecurities and fears. Gradually, I felt my anger begin to dissipate. I realized that, while Lisa's actions had hurt me deeply, the journey we had embarked on together was also a testament to our resilience. We were learning to communicate, to support one another, and to confront our past mistakes without letting them define us. One afternoon, while we were cooking dinner together, Lisa surprised me by bringing up a topic we hadn't discussed in a while. You know, I've been thinking about the impact our situation has had on the university. I want to help other students who might be in similar situations, she said. I paused, intrigued. What do you mean? I want to create a support group for students who feel they've been taken advantage of or who have experienced inappropriate relationships with faculty. I think it could really help others who might be feeling alone, she explained, her passion shining through. I could feel pride swelling in my chest as I listened to her. That's an amazing idea, Lisa. It could make a real difference, I replied, feeling a sense of admiration for her growth. As we embarked on this new initiative, I saw a transformation in Lisa. She was no longer the woman who had made reckless choices. She was becoming an advocate for others, using her experience to create positive change. It brought us closer together, united in a common purpose. As the months passed, the wounds began to heal. We still had our moments of tension, and there were days when the past would rear its head, but we faced it together, armed with the lessons we had learned. It was not a linear journey, but every step we took was a step toward healing. Ultimately, I learned that love is not just about perfection. It's about growth, accountability, and understanding. Trust can be rebuilt, but it takes time, effort, and a willingness to confront the truth, no matter how painful. As I reflect on this tumultuous journey, I realize that while the scars of betrayal will always remain, they have transformed into symbols of resilience and hope. Lisa and I emerged from the fire not just as survivors, but as partners who had fought for our love. We had faced our darkest moments and come out stronger, and now we were ready to embrace whatever the future held together.